Do you like the look of that, by the way? The laid off driver shaft at the top and maybe not as long as Rory. So I think we're leaving some distance on the table by getting the club to look like that at the top. Okay, and then watch what your hands do here in the downswing. Where's that glove going? Down at the ball or above it? Down. Lots of down. And then look at where the club is now, halfway down versus the plane. Woo! Under, on, or above? Under. Yeah. So where's that going to start every time? Right. Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think your path is? Laid off, drop, laid off, drop, coming from the inside. Okay. The other thing too with that far ball position, what's the disadvantage to that? And on that one, I want you to think contact. Okay. Here comes your cheat codes. Watch your head in the downswing. What'd your head just do? Back. Down, back. And back with the ball. What might be the contact from? Think of the shot that I saw in the tournament. Only one. Drop kick. Drop kick driver. Okay. So if you got the ball really far forward, it always in golf makes the club want to touch the ground where? Before or after? Yeah. Then your head goes back and there you go. Okay. And then do you got lag? Oh, ton of it. So what's the right pieces? That was your miss in the tournament. And probably the miss that you continue to see, if I'm guessing. Path is where? To the right. And then you have a lot of what's not letting the club release going to do with the direction? Never letting it release. Wrist. That's the function of the wrist. Yeah, I'm thinking direction. I'm asking the ball play. I never let the club release. Where's it going? Right. Always going more to the right. Okay. So if we keep the lag in the swing, you can't have the path be drastically where to hit it straighter. Because the lag's the power, right? With kids, I never take the power out. I keep the power in. With the lag, right or left. Right. And if we want to hit it straighter, and we got to keep this, then the path has to get straighter down the target. Does that make sense? I guess, do you like to look at the swing? Is it something that you think you'll accomplish your goals with, or I don't know, maybe the Rory video makes you think differently? Yeah, well, I don't think you're jammed. I think you're down. I think you got a very narrow radius with a lot of the lag. And there's a lot of guys that are like that with the driver, down and back like that. My biggest question is, with the right shot, do you want to get it by getting the path more straighter, less in to out, or take some of that lag out as your main questions? Maybe you don't know? Okay. Well, in my opinion, I would put in a slight bit of steep through the top of your swing and getting the club shaft to be more what? What does that look like versus yours?
Not so
Laid off. See how shallow that club already is at the top? That is a major shallow right there. And because you go down and back and your hand path loops down, you don't need that many shallows in your swing because it tends to make the driver go too much to the right.
That's when you lay off of it. That's why you get that sometimes when you don't lay off of it, it's almost when you lay off of it, it's almost like you're guiding it.
So think about where his club is versus the plane there. Look how much work he has to do to come down on to be on plane. And yours is already where? On it. See what I'm saying? So is that something we call that shaft plane? That's the nerd term. Is that something that you think you can maybe commit to in terms of a swing? That'd be a swing plane change. Getting the club to be more parallel at the top. Or is that something that you don't really want to mess with?
No, I think he can do that. I think he does that.
Yeah.
Lay off.
So that's a big shallow, true or false. And then the hand path has a tendency of doing what in transition? Dropping or going at the ball. That's another shallow. Tilting back, shallow or steep. That's another shallow. And then, then you got the lag as well. That's power. But the lag has a tendency of making the direction go. In which direction? Not releasing the club. Okay. So you got to put in some type of an element to get the club to come down, less underneath the plane. Like, look at that. Versus, look at that. And then that's going to also help you understand why we saw maybe that one bad swing, which was the drop kick driver. Does that make sense? Look how much
Do you know how to fix that, Travis? Do you?
Well, I'm not teaching how to fix it. I'm just, the thing with kids is you got to make sure that you're going to buy into something and why. So as my coach, if he showed me Rory halfway down, how he's not on the plane and I'm under the plane, I can't get any more shallower. I got to get more steeper. And how am I going to put in the steep? Backswing or downswing?
Backswing.
Yep, changing the backswing, getting the shaft to be parallel at the top, which then puts the shaft more where versus the plane? More away from the plane. That way you're not so under it. Okay, so it'll feel like it's a longer swing. It'll feel like the shaft is kind of parallel, but I think
Because he used to be there. He used to really be like I said,
parallel.
He was way over the top.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you're going to go over the top with anything as long as you drop your hand path like that. See what I'm saying there in terms of the differences, though? So he doesn't have the club so far where with Rory? Under. Down and under. Yeah, correct. And so you ought to try a simple drill for, say, just what the shaft is doing. And then with the shaft, we use the plane boards. So those plane boards are at our facility. Those are really easy to use. Or we use sticks. We have sticks. Something like a stick would be easy. But the key there, Trav, is are you willing to commit to a little bit of a swing change to help you not have as much what path? In, down, or out, in? In, down.